Hey, what's up, guys? So here I am back again. Made a video yesterday, making another video today. I am inspired to keep this bodybuilder's reality going. And so I got a lot to talk about and catch up with you guys. I'd like to hear what some of you guys have been up to as well. Some of you guys were subscribers, guys and girls, subscribers to our Bodybuilders Reality DVD series back in 2006 and 2007. So it's been 17 years since then, and here we are. What's changed in your life? Today I'm going to talk about uh, how I met Lee. And so that probably is the best place to start with this. And then I'm going to also answer some questions that have just been lingering on the channel. All right, so before I get into how I met Lee, for a lot of you guys and girls who may not know, guys like Lee Priest will be remembered for hundreds of years. That's just the way it is. He was a teenage phenomena, and he is still out there doing his thing in his 50s now. So looking at some of the most recent comments, I see Purple Tech 1 saying, "Welcome back, Scott." Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It is good to be back. I'll get into what I've been doing as we go along on this journey. I plan on making these videos ongoing. I plan on having guests from Bodybuilders Reality on here to share their experiences. And, you know, one thing about Lee is that you're always laughing. And when Lee is not in your life, you miss that. You know, you may have other people who are funny as well, but let's face it, there's only one Lee. So if we can't have Lee here today, we can certainly, you know, talk about Lee and relive some of these moments that we had and talk about behind the scenes stuff that occurred in Bodybuilders Reality. Thank you, Purple Tech One, for the welcome back. I appreciate that. So, and then we've got the Tom Platz video over here, and user OC, etc., and so on says, "Warms my heart to see these two champs working out." Well, that was amazing to get that footage. That was Tom Platz's wife, Shaw, and that was in 2007. And at that time in Lee's life, he was about to get managed by Tom Platz and Tom's wife. And in fact, there was talk that Lee and I would actually move to Arizona together, me for a short period of time because I'm married and have kids. So no way my wife is going to let me just up and move. But for a short period of time, like maybe a weekend every other week. We never really got that far in the discussion, Tom Platz, Shaw, Lee, and myself, but that was on the table. They owned a condominium, Tom and his wife, in, I think, Scottsdale, Arizona, maybe Phoenix. I don't remember exactly. Lee did go on and live in Scottsdale, and that's where he met Rusty Jeffers, but that's down the road a bit from this footage right here where Tom Platz and Lee are working out together. Let's just switch it over to that. So how amazing that was for me, being a huge Tom Platz fan, the Golden Eagle, you know, the guy that is just so intense with his training, particularly on leg day, to now have the opportunity to see this footage. Shaw is the person that filmed this, I believe. Um, and then to be able to edit this and put it out on Bodybuilders Reality. This was in 2007, and let's see if it shows us what DVD that is on. I don't see it right here, but if you go to Bodybuilders Reality, .com, you can read all about the episodes and the descriptions and so on and so forth. My guess, this is somewhere around 13, 14, 15, DVD 13, 14, or 15. And keep in mind, these are all now available as digital downloads. So in this scene right here, you have Tom Platz on the cable row. You can see that Tom is getting back into training. He had taken a break for a while. If memory serves correct, he had been working selling cars at this time. And I don't know who the gentleman there is. Obviously, that is a friend of Tom's. And I'm assuming that Lee has just met this gentleman on this occasion. The only thing with this video is that the audio wasn't great. This was back in 2007, so we didn't have our phones yet for video. We didn't have a whole lot of experience with our video cameras, across the board. We should have been using a shotgun mic. We should have been using a clip-on mic, and that came later on. There were some people that were kind of first adapters to that. Mike Pulcinella of Raising the Bar, he was always really good at the audio. And I would reach out to Mike Pulcinella and pick his brain about, video, um, visuals, audio, and all that stuff. So Lee was managed by Tom and his wife for a short period of time. And I remember thinking to myself, oh boy, this is going to be really interesting because, Lee is his own man. And I know Lee has great respect for Tom Platz, but Lee also is going to speak his piece no matter what. And I'm not saying that Tom was trying to control Lee, not at all. He was just there with his experience and wisdom, to try to help Lee with his career because Lee at this time had been banned by the IFBB and he was kind of trying to figure out, what he was going to be doing next, where he was going to be competing. Of course, he had the PDI. And so, yeah, this was interesting. I remember talking to Tom Platz on the phone at one point, and that was an amazing experience for me, and talking to his wife as well. And so this was kind of like the gateway time in 2007 where Lee moved to Arizona. And he was managed by Tom, but that ended after maybe a month or so. And, Lee went on his own way, and, he is still very, very relevant today. Uh, a lot of people would say Lee is probably the best teenage bodybuilder ever in the history of bodybuilding. And that would be very hard to argue. Bodybuildersreality.com, was an interesting time for us because we covered so much material with his banning from the IFBB. Of course, we did get to see him compete in the IFBB. We got to see Lee compete in the PDI, and we got to see tattoos just continue to appear. We got to see relationships, and we got to travel, and we got to really know Lee with these monthly episodes. So, and at any point, if you guys have any questions as I'm going along here, feel free to add questions, comments below the video. I'd love to hear them. I wanted to do this because, you know, as time goes by, your memory starts to fade. And I think it's important for me to add behind the scenes commentary and, hear your input and hear your questions. And that way, 10, 20 years down the road, all of this stuff will still be there as long as YouTube is still here. And we'll be able to relive all this and we'll have accurate information. So, how did I meet Lee? In 2000, at the tail end of 2005, as a fitness entrepreneur, I was running a fitness boot camp and I had three different locations, and they were outside in the Austin, Texas area. Um, there was a period where, I started to grow tired of that, and I wanted to learn how to leverage my time instead of trading my time for money. So I had a mentor in the fitness industry who helped me to understand how to do that. I had a mentor in the tech industry who helped me to understand how to create my own DVDs, have my DVDs fulfilled, and then have them shipped. Once the customer ordered, have the DVD shipped to the customer, and that sounded pretty good. But now I needed a main person who was interesting and who was popular. So, I've always been into bodybuilding since age 21 as I competed in bodybuilding as well. And so at the time, John Sherman, the IFBB pro bodybuilder, was living in Austin, and he was someone that I actually worked out with. He and I were workout partners for a short period of time, and then he moved back to Houston, which is where he's from. And so I asked him about it, and I guess it wasn't the right time for John. And so now I was back to square one. And so I had heard through the grapevine that Lee Priest was living in Austin, and this was at the end of 2005. And so a guy named Bruce, who's actually in the bodybuildersreality.com episodes, owned a gym and called Gym One. And he and Lee were working out together. They had become friends. And so I called Bruce or emailed Bruce and asked Bruce to let Lee know that we were thinking of doing a DVD of the month. It would be a reality series where basically we just hold the camera up and film Lee doing what he does, traveling, working out, competing, all the behind the scenes stuff that at that time, all we got was, at that time, all we got information was from message boards and magazines. So this was a opportunity to really, go further and capture the reality of bodybuilding, and who better to do it than Lee? And Lee immediately said, "Yeah, I think my fans would love that." So Bruce got back to me and told me that. Bruce gave me Lee's email address. I emailed Lee, and then we worked out the details, and there we go. Bodybuilders Reality was born. So in episode one, that was my first time to actually meet Lee, film Lee and Bruce, and it was at Pure Austin, a gym in Austin. And boy, you talk about being nervous, because I had never met a quote unquote celebrity in bodybuilding. I mean, John Sherman was to me, obviously a celebrity in bodybuilding, and then Lee Priest obviously was another one. But there was more on the line now with Lee because we were filming and fulfilling these DVDs and editing and hopefully putting out a really good product that people would like. So I was holding my breath a lot during this period of time and losing a lot of sleep because I started out doing this on a laptop computer. I didn't know much about, technology, and there wasn't much processing speed, there wasn't much memory with the laptop computer, and video takes up a lot of space. We were just using standard definition at the time because that's all we had at that time. And so, I was learning as I was going along. Anyway, so in a nutshell, that's how I met Lee. And we made it through those first three, four, five episodes. And then on episode six, or DVD six, also available as digital downloads, I actually started editing them myself. And then I started to really feel like I was finding my groove. I was more in control. As a bodybuilder, I kind of felt like I knew what people wanted to see and talk about. So around episode six, that would have been around June of 2006. That's when we really started to find our groove. So there you go. That's how I met Lee. There's more to talk about there. Let's go back to the comments. And once again, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Ray Hart 7753 says Lee is probably one of the best bodybuilders ever. Even now, he looks amazing. Tom, on the other hand, after all them years of training, looks like he's never been in a gym in his life. Hey, come on now. That was 11 days ago. Wow, I was hoping that was like 11 years ago because I could have said, well, Ray, what do you look like now? But Ray probably looks pretty good because it was only 11 days ago. You know, uh, there's chapters in your life, and different chapters mean different things. One chapter might be, first getting into fitness and bodybuilding. The next chapter might be competitive bodybuilding, and maybe that'll last a year or 10 years or a lifetime. But then there's other chapters too where, you go on and do other things. And this was that chapter for Tom Platz. He had stopped training, maybe letting his body have a break. He was doing other things. And he's still out there and very popular as a motivational speaker, traveling around the world. Last time I checked, and there's only one Tom Platz. Well, let's see what else we got. Lee Priest and Michael Douglas. No, that's not Michael Douglas. That is Tom Platz. And then Nemonucleosis says Platz is ego lifting at 10:45. Let's check it out. No, that's Tom's belt right there. How'd you like to have that? That's why I was focusing on this so much, because I was like, man, that is incredible. Look at that. Ego lifting. Uh, I think Tom had a specific way of doing things. I don't know that I would call that ego lifting. It's not, the whole stack over there. He's not using wrist wraps. He's just doing what works for him, and he's feeling it the best way. And we know Tom knows how to work out, obviously, so I don't know that I would call that ego lifting. I would say it's probably intensity lifting. All right, let's see what we got here. Platz form, very sloppy. Just talked about that. These two bodybuilders will always be remembered as legends. Yes, they will. Who do you guys think will be legendary that's coming up now? Is it Sam Sulak? I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. And I don't think he's a competitive bodybuilder. Is it Chris Sebum? Chris Bumstead. Is Chris Bumstead going to be remembered 10 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now? I don't know. What do you guys think? I know Tom Platz will, and I know Lee Priest will. What was Lee thinking when he got those awful face tats? God only knows. Oh boy, if only Lee was here to answer that. They were good when he was younger. Tattoos look terrible once the skin loosens up. And then this says, great gym music, great workout. Two legends. Too much gossiping like schoolgirls between sets. Well, these guys have already competed at the highest level. They're not, Tom at this point wasn't thinking about coming back, I don't believe, as a competitor. So, this was a visit where Lee was out visiting Tom and they were doing what they love, hanging out in the gym. So, yeah, they were just chit chatting and having a good time. The greats. And then right here, Dame 5372, it seems better to be natural. You don't shrink. You're on roids. You cheat and destroy your body. Definitely not worth it to disrespect God and disrespect your temple. Your body I respect. Natural weightlifters I don't respect. Unnatural steroids, they're cheaters. All right, well, broken English, but I understand what you're saying. Tom looks tired. Intensity. 10 out of 10. If you can do one more rep, you can always have 5 in you. I think that's what Tom says. That's from Joe Bananas 1088. A couple more. James 8340 says these guys did way too much juice. Now they are old and frail. Well, that is interesting. Back in I just call it the golden era. I know some people call it the silver era, the bronze era. Steve Reeves and all of the guys going way back to the early 1900s with Eugene Sandow and, the silver era, I guess, would be Steve Reeves and George Eiferman. And then the golden era, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just call all of that the golden era. A lot of those folks have passed away. Steve Reeves passed away in 2000. George Eiferman passed away around the same time. Jack LaLanne has passed away. I believe he lived to be 90, in his mid 90s or so. Those guys did not use steroids. What I think is that steroids started in the mid 60s. I don't want to name any names, but just think of the guys that started in the mid 60s. So it is going to be interesting to see how, they were using, steroids were just commonplace in the 90s by then, and now it's crazy. It's like a drug experiment these days. Physical culture used to be about just that, physical culture. And now a lot of people would say it's a drug culture. So the people that did use larger amounts in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, it is going to be interesting to see how their lives turn out as they go along. Will their bodies heal themselves and will they have a high quality of life, or will they just continue to fade away? I know a lot have already passed away, and I'm talking about the older guys, Franco Colombo, um, and even these younger guys, that are in their 20s and 30s are dying. So it will be interesting to see how all of this plays out with some of the bodybuilders from the 80s and 90s. I wish them well. I hope their bodies, heal themselves. Obviously, I hope they stay clean. And the body's pretty amazing, and it can really turn itself around if you keep yourself active and if you eat correctly and if you exercise. So we'll see what happens. Christia and Titus, 1969, says they look like father and son. And I remember when Lee came back from this trip to Arizona, he started growing his hair out like Tom Platz's. And so we would have fun. Kurt and I would have fun mentioning that to Lee. All right, well, let's leave it at that. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'll be doing a lot more of these videos. And keep in mind, we have a sale going on right now at bodybuildersreality.com on both DVDs. You can save $5 on each DVD and on digital downloads. Digital downloads are regularly $9.95, $3 off, $6.95. It's currently December the 5th. And so this is just a holiday sale for a limited time. I don't know yet what the end date is, but we have been enjoying some sales, and Lee and I split these profits equally. So I know he appreciates it. I hope to get Lee on here talking about, Bodybuilders Reality, what he's doing now, and I'm sure he will. So there you go, guys. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.